G'day cobbers. Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu currently looks set for release in December 2024. This will be the fourth Nosferatu. You're most likely aware this is a remake, but in this video I'll be providing some insight and background to the latest installment of an enduring enclave of the Dracula mythos, which begins in 1922 and includes two criminally underrated entrants. The acclaimed director of The Witch, The Lighthouse, and most recently The Northman, has been trying to make Nosferatu for at least 8 years. While the original 1922 film Nosferatu remains the most acclaimed adaptation of Bram Stoker's original 1897 novel Dracula, fewer film fans, or those of the Count himself, are familiar with another entrant. In 1979, nearly 60 years after the original film, Nosferatu the Vampire, directed by none other than Werner Herzog, was released. While the original Nosferatu had Bram Stoker's framework, the names were changed from the original novel for fear of repercussions if copyright were to be breached. The studio went out of business after the Bram Stoker estate sued the company. Prior to film, the studio never made another picture. Herzog's film began production as soon as the novel entered the public domain. While Herzog changed the name of the Count to that of the original novel Dracula, his film is still more a remake of F.W. Murnau's 1922 production than it is an adaptation of Stoker's original work. Herzog himself said it was an homage.
And since I did Nosferatu as an homage to Murnau, I felt like having reached solid ground, like crossing a river with murky waters and treacherous eddies, and all of a sudden there was a feeling of being safe.
In fact, Werner wasn't a fan of the novel.
My relationship to Bram Stoker has been very easy to decipher. I don't like his book very much. I think it's very mediocre literature.
Yet, it was a Herculean task to remake such an iconic film. In particular, Max Schreck's role as Count Orlok, a performance so menacing, so different from the debonair and attractive vampires of modern times, was so terrifying to audiences at the time, caused the 1922 film to be banned in Sweden until 1972, due to excessive horror. Every horror film seems to become absurd after the passage of years, Pauline Kael wrote in her review of Nosferatu, yet the horror remains. Made during the height of German Expressionism, a style which externalizes its characters' emotions through excessive performances, optical illusions, and unnatural camera angles, creating an emphasis on mood over conventional narrative, Murnau's film contains fewer scares to a modern audience. Yet, it remains eerie, unsettling and creepy, thanks in no small part to Max Schreck's portrayal of Orlok. Schreck's inhabitants of the role of the vampire is the subject of the 2000 darkly comic film Shadow of the Vampire. In this, a one-off success for director E. Elias Merrick, John Malkovich plays Murnau. During the filming of Nosferatu and having cast Max Schreck, a real vampire, to play Count Orlok. Willem Dafoe, who is returning to the 2024 scheduled release, was himself the menacing Max Schreck in Shadow of the Vampire. Roger Ebert wrote, "Willem Dafoe is Max Schreck." I put quotes around that because it's not just a line for a movie ad, but the truth. He embodies the Schreck of Nosferatu, so uncannily that when scenes from the classic are slipped in to the frame, we don't notice a difference. While Shadow of the Vampire is at its core a comedy, its reverence for the original source material is a joy to behold. It's at once a story of a real vampire masquerading as a human, portraying a vampire on film, as it is a satire of the industry itself. Could there be a more pertinent scene following the recent SAG-AFTRA strike?
How dare you! How dare you destroy my photographer! You idiot!
Defoe's Max Schreck has just eaten the cinematographer, and Malkovich's F.W. Murnau is not best pleased.
Did I kill some of your people, Murnau? I can't remember.
We have an arrangement.
Don't pretend you mourn, Herr Doctor. I know you.
Why him, you monster? Why not the script girl?
The script girl. I'll eat her later.
No, you will not. Our bargain. You agreed not to hurt my people.
I don't think we need the writer any longer.
I don't expect you to understand this, and I am loath to admit it myself. But the writer is necessary.
For fans of the original Nosferatu, Shadow of the Vampire should be considered a must-watch. The attention to detail and reverence for its source make it accessible not to just industry insiders, but to all cinephiles. It's this idea of reverence for the source material which brings us back to Werner Herzog's 1979 remake. Herzog described the original as the most important film ever made in Germany. Nosferatu, the Vampire, recreates many scenes from the 1922 film. While Herzog's film is at once picturesque, slow, and relatively unscary, regular collaborator Klaus Kinski's turn as Count Dracula is truly something to behold. Kinski plays the Count with a heartbreaking yearning for a love he can never have. He looks every bit the monster of the earlier German expressionist film, but there is a fundamental human truth to his performance, even a childlike innocence. We see Dracula sympathetically in the film. He is a man without free will. He cannot choose, and he cannot cease to be. He is a kind of incarnation of evil, but he is also a man who is suffering for love. This makes it so much more dramatic, more double-edged.
Profound as 1,000 nights. Centuries come and go. To be unable to grow old is terrible. Death is not the worst. There are things more horrible than death. Can you imagine enduring centuries, experiencing each day the same futile things?
A 1979 remake of one of the most famous films of the silent era. A movie which, just because it was brilliant the first time round, doesn't mean it can't be added to, or perhaps even improved upon, by a filmmaker with a singular vision. Robert Eggers' upcoming 2024 remake will see Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. Yes, Eggers is returning to the names of the previous 1922 film. Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise was much acclaimed, and Eggers has said of his lead in this one, Bill has so transformed, I'm fearful that he might not get the credit that he deserves because he's not there. I'm usually not a fan of remakes, but I am looking forward to this one, chiefly because it's filmmaker driven and not studio driven. It's a passion project for Eggers, and his previous work, in particular The Witch and The Lighthouse, instill in me a belief that he can pull off a work of true gothic horror with the capacity to truly frighten. Thank you for watching. I've set a goal of uploading at least a video a week for at least 12 months. You can help me by clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. Let me know in the comments if you think the original Nosferatu can't be touched. Leave a comment if there's something in the world of film you'd like me to cover.